So as we enter into this new year of 2021 with the new Congress now in action, I'd like to welcome Congressman for Florida's 17th District, Representative Greg Steube, joining us now from Washington, D.C. after, 2 days now of being enacted there for the 117th Congress.
Yeah, we've been here since early Sunday and we'll be here till likely late Friday, early Saturday morning.
Okay, so what are your plans for your second term in office now?
Well, I'm going to continue to work on the things that I worked on this past Congress, like working for veterans. I'm refiling my True Choice bill that would allow veterans who are over 30% service-connected disabled to be able to take advantage of TRICARE for Life or TRICARE Prime. So not only would they be able to use services at the VA, but they would be able to use their own medical providers in the communities in which they live. I represent 9 counties. And I don't have a VA hospital in my district. And it's very difficult for veterans who live in my district to use the services that the VA provides because it can be a 3 to 4 hour drive. So giving veterans who live in a district like mine the opportunity to take advantage of healthcare providers in their own community, I think would be a great win for veterans and a great win for our country.
Interesting point there. We'll have to follow up with you on that some other time. As somebody who has used TRICARE with my father being in the military, I know it can be a bit of a nightmare for some people who are involved. Now, I want to talk about some of the other main priorities that you do plan to address right out the gate. We've got a lot going on right now, but what are some of the main topics that you're hoping to also address?
Yeah, one of the things that we worked on towards the end of last Congress, and obviously with COVID and us not being up here as much as we typically are, is big tech censorship and reining in some of the things that we've seen happen with big tech. I filed a bill that wouldn't do away with Section 230, but would take a very surgical approach from a legal aspect that if you are market dominant in a social media sphere like Facebook or Twitter, and you are censoring people's First Amendment rights, it would create a private cause of action if you are not allowing people's First Amendment rights to be seen. So, networks like you or newspapers like the Sarasota Herald-Tribune, if they're editorializing, they are not immune from lawsuits if they violate people's First Amendment rights. Well, Facebook and Twitter and Google are immune from lawsuits. So if they're going to editorialize or they're going to censor speech, then they should be held to the same legal standard that ABC7 is and the Sarasota Herald-Tribune is, and not be immune to liability protection. So that's something that's big that we'll be working on going into this next Congress. Okay.
Well, as far as COVID relief, something that so many are still dealing with into this new year, can you tell me about that package that's been in Congress going back and forth? I do believe you voted no on that piece of COVID legislation. And what do you think is the best plan of action moving forward? And how do you plan to advocate for those that do need COVID relief in your district?
Yeah, in Florida, I believe we're doing it the right way. We're opening up, we're allowing businesses to operate and allowing them to do it safely following CDC guidelines. The president signed that bill recently, so people are going to start seeing those $600 checks that were part of that bill and the other relief that was in that package that passed right before the end of the year going into the new year. So as it relates to COVID, I think as the vaccines distribute, we need to make sure that the money that was appropriated for vaccines, we're hearing a lot in the district of frustration of individuals who would qualify for the vaccine that aren't able to get in and see a provider that has it or see a hospital that has it and get the vaccine. So I think the focus right now should be making sure that the vaccine gets out to the millions of Americans that we promised it would get out to. And I think you will see a turning of the tide as more people get vaccinated and we're opening up our economy and getting business back to normal in the country and in Florida.
Interesting you bring up that frustration from some of your constituents in regards to the COVID-19 vaccine. We've been hearing from people all day long about their frustration in regards to Manatee County, Sarasota County, parts of your district as well that have been not able to get a hold of this vaccine. And when they do try to do so, it's gone out. There's no slots, there's no appointments available. Is there any conversation you are having with those in Congress or the governor or senators in regards to how we get this out to people in a better way and to more people at all possible?
One of the frustrations that we have in Congress is we appropriate the funds. We are pushing it out from the federal perspective and Operation Warp Speed, but that goes to the states, and then the states are obviously responsible for doling it out and their local states and local municipalities. So that's some of the frustration that we in Congress have is Operation Warp Speed is working in lock speed time over less than a year to get this vaccine out to the American people. And then we're doling it out to the states, and they're responsible for deciding where that vaccine goes. You've heard Governor DeSantis say that he's focused on the elderly, those in nursing homes, those in independent living facilities. So that's some of the frustration that we're seeing, but we're trying to work as quickly as possible with our state elected officials to ensure that the vaccine gets out to the people that are appropriate to be able to get the vaccination. And there's millions and hundreds of millions of doses that are out there, and we get that to the people that need it.
Okay, thank you for that update, Congressman. Now, this Congress class is coming in as one of the most diverse in quite some time. Surely there'll be some conversations that will be brought up about race, sexual orientation, climate change. I do even believe there was that recent conversation about pronouns in Congress. But I want to know and let our viewers know at home where your priorities lie and what your agenda would look like in these terms during your time in Congress.
Yeah, we had a record number of Republican women in the history of Congress get elected this last Congress and get sworn in. Yesterday, we have a number of minorities, a number of veterans in the Republican caucus that have very diversified the Republican caucus. So we're looking forward. The margin now in Congress is much thinner for the Democrats than it has been. So I hope that's going to spark some bipartisan work across the aisle to get some real things done. But like I said, I'm going to be focused on what I can do to support our veterans and make our veterans' lives better in this country, see what I can do as it relates to big tech censorship. And I think another thing that we haven't talked about that has always been a focus of my office representing Lake Okeechobee and Okeechobee County and the Caloosahatchee is water quality, red tide, and the issues that we see there. We haven't had a big outbreak this year. The Army Corps of Engineers has managed the outflow pretty well, and we're going to continue to work on that and make sure that we're on the front of the end of that to make sure that Sarasota and Manatee County has the best water quality that we can provide, and the government's doing what they can from a federal perspective to ensure that our citizens have great water quality for all the great things that Florida is known for.
And we certainly know how important that is to many of your constituents and many people here across the Suncoast. Thank you so much, Representative Steube, for joining us from D.C.
Yep, great to see you.
You too.